This episode is brought to you by Progressive Insurance. Fiscally responsible, financial geniuses, monetary magicians. These are things people say about drivers who switch their car insurance to Progressive and save hundreds. Visit progressive.com to see if you could save. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. Potential savings will vary, not available in all states or situations.
This episode is presented by Tully, the perfect tool for high school and Division III programs. Tully helps coaches track player readiness, performance, and development all in one simple platform. Instead of guessing where your athletes stand, you'll know who's ready, who needs attention, and how your team is trending week to week. With Tully, you get the confidence that your players will stay strong and prepared deep into the season without adding more work to your staff. Learn more today at tully.app or click the link in the show notes.
We're going to build in all the scenarios, but we're going to spend and really emphasize the things that we have not performed as well at, and then we're going to come out and good on good. I want to practice against our best guys, and I want our guys to really get after each other to really improve something that you might have struggled on the week before.
Going on to week 5 here, and we've had 4 Wednesday practices is what we always talked about. We're trying to figure out what's the best way that we can, make some adjustments and get our guys to practice hard. Because if we have a great Wednesday, we think we're going to put ourselves in a really good position to have success. It was impressive to see our guys get tougher and be able to work harder as the season goes.
To encourage an environment where players and teammates get to know each other and coaches get to know the players, I think you're creating a space where players can be the best version of themselves, which is going to give you the best result on the field. That's our job as coaches, is to elicit the right response on the football field.
Welcome to another Hansen Ratings D3 Coach of the Week presented by Tully. Each week we honor the offensive coordinator, defensive coordinator, and head coach and staff of the week based on Hansen's grading system. Logan Hansen joins us as usual. Let's get right into our weekly honorees. Okay, Logan, this week's offensive coordinator of the week is
Jeff Whitehead from Hardin-Simmons, who had amazing a performance this week. They beat Howard Payne 69-14, and if the 69 points weren't enough for you, let's dig into some of these other stats. They're outrageous. They had over 700 yards and 30 first downs. That 700 yards was double what Howard Payne had been allowing coming into the game, and they did all that with 0 punts, 0 turnovers on down, and 0 turnovers. The only time they didn't score was their last drive of the first half. They had a 2-play drive before the half. Otherwise, they scored on every single drive. They had 17 different skill players who touched the ball, and they went 12 of 15 on 3rd and 4th down conversions. They just were not coming off the field, and if they didn't convert, they were in field goal range. Every single one of their scoring drives, too, was over 50 yards. These weren't short fields. You don't get to 700 yards of offense if you're operating on short fields the entire game, and, it seems like they're really hitting their stride at just the right time in the year for them, too. They've got a big matchup coming up next week with Mary Hardin-Baylor, one of 2 matchups between those 2 top schools in the American Southwest Conference this year.
impressive numbers for Hardin-Simmons. Now joining us is Jeff Whitehead, the offensive coordinator at Hardin-Simmons, recognized by the Hansen Ratings and presented by Tully. Jeff, congratulations for a great win this past weekend, and congrats on being recognized.
Hey, thank you guys, man. Thank you for the recognition. It's a team award. We've got great players. It's a staff award. I'm blessed to work with the best guys in America, in my opinion. Our head coach, Jesse Burleson's our offensive line coach, does a fantastic job. Don't think they make them any better in America. And he and I have worked together here the past 15 seasons. We were college teammates at Hardin-Simmons back in the late 90s. It's been a true blessing and just a fun experience. J.J. Elkins is our wide receivers coach. does a fantastic job with our wideouts who had a great game Saturday. I believe we threw for a little over 450 yards, and those receivers made great run after catch, and all that credit to JJ. I recruited JJ to come play here in 2014, and we never let him leave Abilene. He's just been a GA, and then we elevated him to full-time, and he does a fantastic job. And then our tight ends coach is Jackson Money. Jackson played receiver for us, went off to Texas A&M Kingsville and GA'd for a couple of years and was full-time for them. And we were blessed to bring him back this past spring to be our tight ends coach. Does a fantastic job because in our offense, I think playing tight end for us is one of the more difficult positions with as much stuff as we do with that guy. And then our running back coach is a guy named Galen Glenn. Galen played quarterback for me here at HSU, was a two-time captain, led us to the conference championship 2023, and just kind of like some of the other guys, we never let him leave Abilene. We kept him here and held on to him, and he does a great job. We've got two of the better backs in Division III in America, in my opinion, and Noah Garcia and Braylon Henry, and those two kids are really special, and Galen does a great job preparing those guys. And even more importantly, with the guys that work on our offensive staff, it's not the way they do it, it's why and how they do it. I mean, they do it for the right reasons. They're all about raising young people, molding men with great Christian values and doing it the right way. And I'm just blessed to be a small part of this deal. And this is truly a staff honor and recognition of our players and our staff.
Well, it's smart on your guys' part to keep good people around. And obviously it's been working because you guys have had great success, and appreciate you recognizing your staff. As you know, we ask our coaches who are being recognized to share a little information for our listeners. And you had mentioned structuring your practice to work on things that maybe haven't gone as well as you typically would like or expect. So how about sharing a little bit with us about that, Jeff?
Sure, absolutely. I think all of us as coaches, we're about as routine-oriented people as they come. You know, we like our Tuesday to look exactly the same, our Wednesday, our Thursday, leading up to the kickoff on Saturday. And I just think you've got to have some wiggle room, and you've got to be able to work on things that you're struggling with as the season wears on and implement that into practice. Our defensive coordinator, Craig Neese, is one of the best I've ever been around. And usually he and I meet each Sunday to kind of go over what either side of the ball is not doing as well on. And then we try to build that into our practice and do it good on good. We had a bye week leading into the Howard Payne game. For 2 weeks in a row, neither one of us felt like we were converting good enough on third downs on offense or stopping the offense on third and fourth down as a defense. So we built in on Tuesday, Wednesday practice for the last 2 weeks, good on good scenarios with about every third and fourth down scenario you could possibly imagine into the practice, and brought a lot of energy to the practice. And it wasn't something we typically worked on. So I just think being able to have that flexibility to be able to do that, like whether it's red zone, we've done coming out, we gotten pinned on our own end and we're struggling getting the ball out of our own end zone, and we'll do it where offense has got to try to make two first downs to win. Defense is trying to force a 3 and out. We'll do red area. Both teams are, if we feel like we're struggling in the red area. So I just think being able to take a real look at what you're doing week to week, what's working well, what's not working well, and being able to implement that into your practice structure. Because I know some people that I've talked to, they're just so structured and routine that they just have the same Tuesday practice, the same Wednesday practice, the same Thursday practice. And I just think you've got to have a lot of wiggle room in what you do, and you got to figure out the things that you're not doing as well and build that in. I think we have one of the best defenses in the country, so to be able to go good on good against our guys and practice it that way, I think is beneficial for both sides of the ball, and something that I think that most coaches should be able to do and implement into their practice structure and be able to work on the things that maybe they've struggled with week in and week out, instead of just saying, hey, we're always going to do red zone at this time, we're always going to do 2-minute at this time. We're going to build in all the scenarios, but we're going to spend and really emphasize the things that we have not performed as well at. We're going to really focus on that in the meetings, and then we're going to come out and get it good on good, not against scout. I want to practice against our best guys. I think iron sharpens iron, and I want our guys to really get after each other there to really improve something that you might have struggled on the week before.
Now, when you do that, Jeff, obviously you said you're good on good, but is one of you serving as the scout team, or are you running Hardin-Simmons offense and Hardin-Simmons defense in that period? You know what I mean?
Yes, sir. Absolutely. Yeah, we're running our own stuff. So we're Hardin-Simmons offense against Hardin-Simmons defense. And I'll trade whether like our structure's a 3-3 and maybe the opponent we're going against is a 4-man front. I'll sacrifice that for just the good on good reps. And so we spent 5 to 10 minutes, a couple of days for each of those 2 weeks getting ready for this last game. And we really worked those scenarios, but it's truly ones versus ones, their stuff versus our stuff. And we'll get that on film and just really emphasize. I mean, we've got the chains. Our guys know exactly what the scenario is. We'll have all different types of field placement, hashes, red zone, backed up. I mean, we did about all you could do from a situational standpoint there.
How live will that be, Jeff? Are you taking people to the ground? Are you thudding? What are you doing in that period?
Yeah, we're going to be thud. We're a thud tempo team. We just don't think football's played on the ground. So we're trying to stay off the ground, and we're a thud tempo team, take care of each other. We want to practice really hard, but we want to also practice really smart, really healthy as well. We're just like everybody else. We've got a certain amount of guys that can play in the game and help us win, and we want to protect those guys while at the same time getting quality reps and getting after each other. So I think our guys on both sides of the ball do a really good job of taking care of each other, while at the same time it's extremely competitive. It gets heated at times. It's very intense. It has that feel of a game. That's not what we're going for there.
Well, now, if you do that on Tuesday and Wednesday, in terms of your gear on Tuesday and Wednesday, are you full pad on Tuesday, helmet and shoulder pad on Wednesday? How are you working that?
Yeah, I mean, it kind of goes with the whole, we just don't think playing football's on the ground. So we wear what we call cowboy gear, which is basically shell. Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. I think you get a couple of full padded practices to start fall camp, and that'll be about the only time we ever put pants on in the full deal. So we're going to be cowboy or shell Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. We don't think it sacrifices any of the physicality or playing hard or any of that stuff. So we're going to be a shell team.
Yeah. Well, again, obviously it's working. Jeff, we want to wish you the best as you continue on. I know you'll have some great challenges coming up here in your conference, and we look forward to seeing how things progress.
John, thanks a lot. And Keith Grabowski, thank you very much. And for the recognition, love talking about Cowboy football. I'm super blessed to be on the staff I'm on with the guys I'm on and the guys that play for us in that locker room. They're just top-notch human beings and great football players. And we're looking forward to seeing where this season takes us.
Coaches, we all know the struggle with keeping players at their best over the course of a long season. You're trying to track readiness, monitor performance, and manage development, but most of the time it's scattered between paper check-ins, text messages, or spreadsheets that take hours to manage. That's where Tully comes in. Tully brings everything into one simple platform designed for high school and Division III programs. With quick athlete check-ins, you get real-time insight into player readiness, workload, and performance trends. That means fewer surprises, healthier players, and better decisions on practice and game day. If you want your team stronger, more durable, and more confident late in the season than they were in Week 1, Tully is the tool you need. Learn more at tully.app or click the link in the show notes.
Logan, this week's defensive coordinator of the week is...
That goes to Mason Tomblin of Wooster, who beat Wittenberg 14-12 last week. They had a great performance. The defense really kept the offense in the game. I mean, total of 26 points scored in the game. Both defenses were playing well, but Wooster really did everything that they needed to win this game. They held Wittenberg to fewer than 200 yards total and only 9 first downs. And they especially were great as a passing defense. They held Wittenberg to only 3 for 11 on third downs and 5 completions and 44 yards over the entire game. Wittenberg was playing with the backup quarterback, but at the same time, you keep them down to 5 completions for an entire game. I don't care who's playing quarterback for the other team. That's an outstanding performance. And this is probably my favorite stat from the game on this one. I like finding these little quirky stats, but Wittenberg only had 1 drive where they had more than 1 first down on a game. So that defense, if they were getting on the field, it was a 3 and out or 1 first down, and then they were getting off the field. Truly outstanding performance from Wooster, and congratulations to Coach Tomblin and the rest of that defensive staff.
That's a neat little stat, 1 drive with multiple first downs. And yeah, you don't typically look at that, but that is a heck of a job by the College of Wooster.
Definitely.
We are now joined by Mason Tomblin, the defensive coordinator at the College of Wooster. They call it COW, and Mason is recognized by the Hansen ratings presented by Tully. Congrats, Mason. Great to have you on with us, and we look forward to hearing from you.
Yeah, Coach, thank you very much. It's great to be on. I appreciate you guys having me. Great game we had over the weekend, so just very fortunate to be here. And yeah, thanks for having me.
We're honored to have you. It was a great win for you. You mentioned in your topic the importance of having a great week of practice when you have a great win like that. So you want to share with our listeners a little bit of your thoughts on that?
Yeah, so first and foremost, I want to talk about my staff a little bit. I want to start with those guys. I want to thank them very much for all their hard work. Everything always starts up front. You guys know that. So defensive line coach Keyshawn Camp, our special teams coordinator and DBs coaches Zane Grove, coaches the safeties, and then Parker Smith as well helps us out. He coaches the corners. I'm really fortunate to have two senior students, actually. Michael Spadaro goes by Spike, and then another guy named Robert Mays that help us out a ton and do a lot of things behind the scenes. You guys, again, know how it works with some of those student assistants. So really fortunate to have those guys and just have them. They coach hard every single day. They hold their guys to high standards, and that's a big thing of what we try to do. So really appreciative of those guys and thankful to have them. But Coach, talking a little bit about, right, so we were going on to week 5 here, and we've had 4 Wednesday practices is what we always talked about. We always kind of struggled a little bit on Wednesday, right? Middle of the week. Some guys have longer labs. It's the second lift of the week for us. It's a little bit of a longer day. And as a staff, we're trying to figure out what's the best way that we can, make some adjustments and get our guys to practice hard. Because if we have a great Wednesday, we think we're going to put ourselves in a really good position to have success, right? And you never know what's going to happen, but all you can ask for is a chance. And I made some adjustments, and we had a great Wednesday practice. Without a doubt, our best week of practice throughout the whole year. And I would say our best week of 3 practices, right? Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, that we had maybe had up through fall camp as well. So it was impressive to see our guys get tougher and be able to work harder as the season goes. But finding a way to have those guys practice hard. And for us, it's a lot of adjustment day to day, right? Same topics, same things like we'll talk about is pursuit, right? We run pursuit every single day, right? But it's not always, we have about 5 or 6 different ways. We have what we call normal pursuit. We have what we call hotspot pursuit. We have what we call rabbit pursuit. We have intercept or takeaway pursuit, which turns into interception pursuit. And then we have a different rabbit version of pursuit as well. So that's what I think is really our name of the game on defense for sure, is being able to run to the football and just play hard and just play harder than the guy across you. You might be outmatched in size or skill or speed or something, but at the end of the day, you play a 60-minute football game and you just practice hard. You're going to give yourself a really good chance. And I think that's what we did is we had a great Tuesday, had a really good Wednesday, which was super positive. And then a little bit, as a coach, just like, okay, what's Thursday going to look like? Did we have too good of a Wednesday practice to have a good Thursday? But we turned around on Thursday, had a really good practice again. So really just proud of those guys for doing that. And again, that just puts us in a position to have success, right? Unfortunately, in football, you can do all that. You can have a great week of practice, and it's just not enough sometimes. You know what I mean? But when you do practice hard and you give it everything you've got, and every opportunity you get, sometimes you get 3 reps, sometimes you get 30, but just giving it everything you got and having a great week of practice just gives you a really good chance to have success. And that's something that I think helps us. And I think that could help certainly a lot of other teams, obviously, and just building and growing and finding different ways to do that.
On your Wednesday practice, Mason, are you in full pads? Are you helmet and shoulder pads? What are you guys on Wednesdays?
Yeah, we're just helmet and shoulder pads on Wednesdays. Yep, we go full pads on Tuesdays and then go just uppers on Wednesdays. So try to give them a little bit of a break in the regard of no live or, full contact. But again, you guys know how it is. Sometimes we have some good on good periods and it gets a little amped up and guys get a little bit jacked up. And next thing you know, we have a coach that helps us out, Jim Dobney, and he'll say, you might as well just put the chains out and just play because at this point, we're just playing live. So
would you say, in terms of the format between Tuesday and Wednesday, is your format of the practice dramatically different between Tuesday and Wednesday?
No, not dramatically. No, it's not dramatically different by any means. We try to throw a wrinkle in here, a wrinkle in there, maybe a different style, a scout period. We run scout periods a couple different ways and just try to have some different ways to run it for whatever best suits that week, right? If there's a similar offense or a similar defense, something like that. But not a dramatic difference in the structure and the schedule of practice. No, just different wrinkle here, different wrinkle there. Yep.
Will you guys have good on both Tuesday and Wednesday, or just maybe Tuesday? How do you do that?
Yeah, it kind of just depends how Tuesday goes. Every day we try to reevaluate how every practice goes. We have a template that we kind of like to base it off of, but if we have a really good hard Tuesday practice, maybe we'll dial it down a little bit and do a little bit of a longer scout period, a little bit more teaching of it. Whereas maybe we don't think we got enough good on good work on Tuesday, or the reps weren't right there, or we didn't get what we wanted out of those. We'll incorporate it again on Wednesday and, take out a scout period. I'm going to incorporate a good on good period and kind of say, hey, could you guys do this or could you guys do that to give a different look? But it just really depends day to day, because even our Thursday practices, those are definitely certainly the most different outside of Tuesday and Wednesday, of course. But even just evaluating Wednesday's practice and saying, hey, do we need another small wrinkle in here because we didn't handle the adversity from the one on Wednesday again? You know what I'm saying? So a lot of evaluation day to day, but they're relatively always similar, yes.
Just jumping ahead, your Thursday practice, are you guys in helmet and shoulder pad or just helmets on Thursdays? What's your practice look like on Thursday?
Helmet and shoulder pads, and really it's not a ton different. We try to trim things down a little bit. We try to get the guys flying around a little bit more and a little bit less standing around, and a little bit, we try to get a couple more special teams adjustments in there whenever we can, but it's more of a quicker paced practice, I would say, but still uppers and helmets. But again, we might have a situational period in there as well. But yeah, it's not a ton different, just a little bit more trimmed down, try to get a fast paced, energetic, enthusiastic practice, you know what I mean, with good detail, good assignment, sound football, not a ton of reps or things of that nature.
And your Friday practice, I'm assuming, is kind of more the strictly walk through, just helmets, shorter.
Yeah, just a walkthrough. We go through, get a chance to talk to the defense. The offense gets a chance to go, do whatever they would like to do, kind of go through maybe a field goal block thing that we want to talk about, or an opportunity where we may have to stay out there as a defense on punt safe, how we want to adjust to that or something like that. Some of those kind of oddball situations, what happens if they muddle, on field goal block, things of that nature. And then we'll kind of go through a little bit of a mock game, which I think some teams do, is, have the kickoff team go out, have the offense go, have the defense go, have the punt team go, kind of just work through the little bit of a process of what a game would look like. And then we kind of do that, as well. And then we have a little bit of a quick lift for 2 different groups. And then, that's really about it. And then the guys have the rest of the day. It's nice. I like it. It's another fast pace and again, just corrections kind of thing.
Well, Mason, we wish you the best with the remainder of your season and keep up the great work.
Awesome. Well, I really appreciate you guys again having me on again. It was a great opportunity to showcase the cow, like you said, and talk a little bit about what we do and who we are. So I appreciate you guys having me. Maybe I look forward to talking to you guys again soon, and you guys enjoy your day.
This week's head coach of the week, Logan, is...
That honor this week goes to Brad Spencer of North Central, who beat Wheaton 35-0 last week. This is one of the great rivalries in Division III football, and North Central has had their way with Wheaton the last few years, and this is probably the most one-sided win that they've had in this matchup, maybe ever. They gained 3 times as many total yards as Wheaton did. They held Wheaton to under 150 total yards. So that was only 32 yards on designed runs for Wheaton and 116 net passing yards. That included 6 sacks. So, the NCAA likes to count sacks as rushing yards. Let's call them what they are. They're passing plays. So 116 net passing yards on the day against a very, very good quarterback over on Wheaton's side of the ball. And then North Central's offense, they only had 1 incompletion for the entire day, and then they ran for 279 yards on 47 attempts, and they had 3 different rushers that went for over 70 yards. So it wasn't just one bell cow running back taking all the reps and having a great day. They were getting the ball to multiple skill position players. And another thing from the defense, we talked about the College of Wooster and getting those 3 and outs. North Central did the same thing. They had a 3 and out on over half of Wheaton's offensive possessions. A historic win for the number 1 team in the country right now. So, when you do that against your biggest rival and one of the toughest games you're going to play all year, that's going to earn you the coaching staff of the week.
That's a heck of a job, North Central's part. I think Brad had mentioned to us that it's the first time they've shut them out since 1964.
Yeah, they've been playing that game for a long time, and both those teams have been great for a long time too. And to have this much of a one-sided victory is really incredible from North Central.
Now in the studio is Brad Spencer, head coach of national champion North Central College. recognized by Hansen Ratings and presented by Tully. Brad, congrats and welcome to our Coach and Coordinator's Show of the Week, and great job this past weekend.
Thanks, Sean. Appreciate you having me on, and excited to talk about the game and Cardinal football.
Well, you guys obviously have done some great things there. And as you know, it takes a great staff to do that. We certainly want to give you an opportunity to shout out to your coaching staff.
Yeah, thanks. I appreciate it. I felt certainly blessed to have our assistant head coach, Shane Durking, our defensive coordinator, kind of my partner in crime, and then Coach Eric Studeman, our offensive coordinator, both alums and guys I recruited. Eric I played with. They did just a great job putting together a really strong game plan. And then Coach Martin's our special teams coordinator. And then Coach Fairley works with our return team and is our strength coordinator. So just really solid game plans this week for Wheaton College. We almost executed a little pooch pass. You just had a couple of guys that were offsides and maybe got a little bit excited, but thought they did a great job eyeing a few things for us. And, on offense, playing a lot of new faces. We have 8-9 new starters. Certainly starts at quarterback, and Coach Foster, our quarterback's coach, has done a great job working with Garrett and Demir after having coached Luke the last 2 years to a Gallardi Trophy. And Garrett and, Demir just both doing a great job handling their parts of the offense, some crossover, some different parts, but they both played really well. They were combined 15 of 16 in this game. And, I think if the head coach makes a better call down in the red zone, they're 16 of 16 or 15 of 15. So that one was on me. Fortunately, they both played outstanding outside of that. And then on the defensive side of the ball, Coach Workenthien, our D-line coach, JP Sullivan, who was co-defensive player of the year last year with Wheaton College, defensive end Johannick. But JP had a phenomenal game, and, our defense allowed up -2 yards rushing, just under 200 total yards, I think it was, on Saturday night. And then Bobby Medina, our DN, was on National Team of the Week this week. He had 3 sacks, and helped, kind of anchor that defense. So Coach Workenthien is doing a great job with those guys. And then Coach Murph in the D backfield. We had 2 defensive backs out this week. So, we had to see Kyler Green and John Williams step in, and Coach Murphy did a great job preparing those guys and getting them ready. So it was just a really good effort. Coach Allen worked with our receivers, and, Tommy Scopin's having a great year. Coach Lane worked with our nickels. Coach Vash with our DBs. Those guys are just doing a really good job. And then Coach Wiskowski works with our running backs and O-line. And, our running backs is kind of a 2-headed monster right now between Sean Allen and Donnie McNeil, who was newcomer of the year in our conference last year. They've both just done a great job, and they're part of those new faces. So it's been really great to see our entire staff work with some new guys, particularly on offense and special teams. We have a lot of depth and experience on the defensive side of the ball. But, to shut out Wheaton for the first time since 1964, I think speaks not only to our staff effort on defense, but I think also speaks how good of a program Wheaton College is. To go 60 years without being able to shut somebody out, I think speaks to the great players and coaches that they've had and great battles that we've had with them. In my time, it's been, Coach Schweider and Coach Scott at the helm, but, there are certainly some really great coaches like Coach Bishop before that, and some other coaches that won a lot of football games in our conference that made it really hard for the Cardinals to compete and win against them. Really before 2005, North Central didn't have a whole lot of success in the battle for the little brass bell. And then Coach John Thorne kind of turned those tides, and Coach Jeff Thorne continued to turn them, helping us get to our first national championship. And, now our guys have just done a really great job. The last couple of years, we've had over 30 seniors. So when you have that many seniors, you're going to have some experience. You have maturity. So when you get into games like this, where you have 5,000, 6,000 people, there's going to be ups and downs. They're going to make great plays. You can rely on those older guys. And I started out by talking about that 17-play drive they had. I ended up having a senior captain, Danny Nuccio, step up and make an interception in the end zone to end that drive and prevent them from getting any points. And that's the senior leadership that you need. When I tell the guy, and this is a Lou Holtz quote, but don't tell me how rocky the sea is, just bring the ship in. And those guys really did that on that drive. We were just kind of missing tackles here and there. We had a couple guys out of place on a few plays, and they eventually just stood up, stood strong, fell back on their training, did the things that they've been coached, and we got a really good result.
Yeah. Obviously, again, you guys have done a great job, and you have a great staff that's been big for you guys and your success. As you know, on the show, we asked that our coaches give some little coaching tidbit that they can share with our listeners that our coaches can learn from. So share with us, Brad, some North Central insight.
Yeah, well, I mean, I think any successful football team's going to work on blocking, tackling, turnovers, blocking and tackling. We work on every single day. But, I mentioned the seniors. And so I guess I'll kind of touch on one of those things. We really try and highlight our seniors. And so since we've been in camp, we've been highlighting one senior a day at practice. So our Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursdays, we're always going to have a senior get up after practice and talk about really two things. Number one, why'd you choose North Central? And then I think more importantly, number two, why have you stayed? Because it's hard to play 4 or 5 years of college football. And, when you have 30 seniors this year, you do the math, we don't have 30 seniors starting. That's not possible. We don't even have 22 seniors starting. The majority of those guys are probably going to be playing roles in some other way other than starting on offense and defense. And so to be able to highlight those guys, I think not only brings value and worth to them, but I think it also brings value and worth to the other segments of your team, whether you're a role player, whether you're a package player and a dime, a nickel, maybe a specialty offensive set, whether it's a heavy set or a light set or a speed set, whatever it might be, or on special teams. We really like to celebrate our special teams players as starters, as well as the offensive defensive guys. In fact, when we get to the playoffs in past years, we've traveled guys who are only special teams players. That might be traveling 2 snappers or 3 kickers. It might be traveling a guy who starts on kickoff, punt return, the big 4. So we really want to highlight every puzzle piece of our team. To me, that's maybe something that we've felt has been important. Maybe other programs don't highlight those things. But I remember when we had 7, 8 seniors, when I started coaching here, 2004, 2005, I don't think we had but 10 seniors, maybe. And Coach John Thorne always talked about, if we want to win the conference, we've got to get to 20 seniors. And so that was the goal, was how do you get to 20 seniors? Well, you got to make everybody feel important. You got to make those seniors feel important, especially if they're a senior on work team. You look at, I think the hardest position in football is work team O-line. That is the least glorious, hardest, most physical, demanding, most important job, yet it gets the absolute least amount of credibility. So we really try and elevate the players that are in those positions so that they can feel the way that they should feel, which is incredibly important, whether it's awards, weekly awards, t-shirts, hats, whatever, backpacks, whatever it might be. It's elevating those players. And so to me, in a day and age with, transferring is so prevalent, moving around for whether it's NIL or it's somewhat other transactional reward, I think the more that you can celebrate the individual and their part in the team, I think the better off your culture is going to be. It's a lot of fun to get into X's and O's. It's a lot of fun, obviously, to recruit really great players. And we've been blessed to be able to do that. I'll always believe you win with Jimmys and Joes, not X's and O's. A bad coach can ruin a good player a lot faster than a bad player can ruin a good coach. So I think it's our job as coaches to find a way to holistically bring out the best in each player, mentally, physically, and spiritually. And I think one way you do that is you pat them on the back. You reward them, give them their 2 minutes in the sun, so to speak, in front of all their teammates. And I think also then what's happened for us is these seniors start saying the same exact things. It almost becomes a joke, because they're like, well, I don't want to say the same thing as the last guy. But when a freshman starts hearing that and they start hearing relationship, they start hearing love, culture, camaraderie over and over and over and over and over again for, it takes us months to get through it because we only do it for, the 3 days that we really put pads on. They start to hear, okay, maybe there's something to this. Maybe there's something more than just scoring touchdowns or getting sacks or kicking field goals. Maybe there's something to this brotherhood and this family that's here with Cardinal football. And so I think it just works on a lot of levels. And it's such a simple thing to do that I think it's easy for coaches to skip over that type of work. But we think it's important to take time out of the X's and O's to build community, build relationship, and build understanding of each other. In today's day and age, we all have so many things going on. You don't really know what the person next to you is walking through. Even when you know them really well. So to encourage an environment where players and teammates get to know each other and coaches get to know the players and vice versa, I think you're creating a space where players can be the best version of themselves, which is going to give you the best result on the field, which at the end of the day, that's our job. That's our job as coaches, is to elicit the right response on the football field. And
Yep.
I think that's been something that we value.
You said it, Brad. The question I was going to ask is, do you spread that out through the entire course of the season to do that?
We won't go through the whole season, but it'll go through, we're still doing it, and we're in week 5. We've still got a couple of seniors left, and we've got 30, 31 seniors, depending who comes back next year for a 5th year or not. Last year, we had about 38. So it goes well into this, and we started that in camp. Again, if you're only doing 2-3 a week, you can do the math. It spreads out, and I think that's important because it's that first half of the season, I think, is really hard for freshmen. It just is. There's a lot of changes. School is totally different. Living in the dorms is different. You have somebody in your space. Football is vastly different in every single way. And so to have them hearing a positive message from older guys that, maybe they are the player of the year in the country. Maybe they are All-Americans, or maybe they're, the 5th string work team D-end. I think it kind of covers a part of the year that's hard for freshmen. Once you start moving through the year, I think the freshmen get more comfortable, the newcomers get more comfortable, they start to get to know their teammates. And so then they start to take on those relationships on their own in different ways. It's just kind of like a good, I don't want to call it a Band-Aid, but I think it's a nice bridge for them early in the year to be hearing a positive message. Because, if we're all honest, football, you never arrive. So you're constantly coaching and giving less than positive feedback to kids as a coach, and there's different ways to handle that so that it's not a negative message, but they're constantly going to be coached on things that are wrong. I think it's good to hear things that are really, really good.
Yeah, I think that's a great point, Brad, that your freshmen hearing a consistent message from their peers about them having a great experience, I think is really helpful to them in understanding and appreciating why they're there and why they should stick it out. And obviously, you guys have done an incredible job of retention, keeping 30 plus seniors. There's not too many programs that are keeping that many kids on a consistent basis. I think that message and that use of showing value to the young kids through your seniors is a really good idea.
Yeah, thanks. I appreciate it. And I think you see the dividends pay off as the season goes, because as a head coach, this is only my 4th year doing it, but I can attest to, you can sit back and you see your team morph and grow, in ways that, like, as an assistant, I don't remember ever being able to really see. I probably just wasn't looking for it. You're in the weeds of everything with, schemes and drills and indie and everything. And so as a head coach, you can kind of move back and you see your team as, it's cliche, but it really is a living organism that is changing as you go throughout the year, for good or for bad. And I think as a head coach, it's important to be able to have a gauge on where your team is as that living organism so that you can try and guide it in the direction that, you want it to go.
Somebody said to me one time, Brad, as a leader, you need to have big eyes and big ears to watch for things like that and to watch how your team, as you said, morphs into a team, and great stuff. Brad, thanks for your time. Thanks for this insight. And we really appreciate you being a part of Coaching Coordinator's weekly show.
Yeah, thanks. Appreciate you guys.
Logan, thanks for all the information again. Thanks for all the really interesting statistical information that you provide, and another great week of games. And we look forward to this coming week's games and the interesting information that you'll provide for this coming week.
Yeah, by the time people listen to this podcast, we'll be over halfway through the Division III football season. Week 6 is over halfway, and if you're listening on Friday or Saturday of week 6, we're past the halfway point. Things are getting real for a lot of teams around the country, and I look forward to highlighting teams that have great performances next week.
Thank you for listening to Coaching Coordinator Network, Hansen Ratings D3 Coaching Coordinators of the Week show. We'll be back again next week with our week honorees. Be sure to check out our presenting sponsor, Tully.app. Go to their website and see all the things that they are doing. Definitely something that can help you as a coach, whether you're at the high school level or the D3 level, in managing your athletes and their development.